Atlanta has become a city that is recognized by nearly everyone in the world. From its southern hospitality and sport teams to its demanding airport and diverse musical heritage, the city of Atlanta has it all. Apart from all the glamour of being considered the new Hollywood, Atlanta also has a rich and beautiful history. Stone Mountain and the Fox Theater are great, but if you look a little deeper, you may also find those hidden gems you never even knew existed. Northwest, less than a mile from where the Georgia State Capitol building rests, sits the Prince Hall Masonic Temple. Built in 1937, this three-story yellow brick building was developed by Black civic leader John Wesley Dobbs as a meeting place for Prince Hall Freemasons. Dobbs became a member of the Prince Hall Masons in 1911, and in 1932 he was elected Grand Master. John Wesley co-founded the Atlanta Negro Voters League and led voter registration efforts that registered 20,000 African Americans in Atlanta from 1936 to 1946.
Master John Wesley Dobbs, he was a mythical person. He was a railroad mailman, so he traveled on the trains and as a postal clerk. And so he maintained that job around 1903 until he pretty much became Grand Master in 1931. And I remember he was even boycotted by other white postal clerks because they said that he had 2 full-time jobs. And they didn't want him making that kind of money. Why could he do it and they couldn't do it? And John Wesley Dobbs, even at the young age, before becoming Grand Master, he was a political wizard. And he knew how to kind of write letters and state his case. And so in 1911, John Wesley Dobbs was initiated as a Freemason, a lodge called Progress Lodge, number 181. We believe it was in the Dixie Hills community of Atlanta, northwest Atlanta. He became the Masonic Relief Secretary and Treasurer in 1924. My lodge is named W.C. Thomas. When he passed away, he was over the MRA. The MRA is Masonic Relief, meaning that if you were to pass away, your family would get a check. Now, the interesting thing about John Wesley Dobbs, he must have just always been good at business because he was not only successful at moving up the ranks as a railroad mail clerk, but when he became Secretary of the Masonic Relief, he started doing things to revolutionize the Masonic Relief. Grand Master Dobbs took over in 1931. We believe he wanted a building that represented African American Masons. We know that everyone was proud of the building built by the Order of Odd Fellows in 1912 and completed in 1913 down the street. There was nothing like that at that time. It was the only black building for blacks with an auditorium to watch a movie. You couldn't go to a white movie theater at that time. And so this was revolutionary, and Grand Master Dobbs wanted a piece of that. WERD radio was housed in the Prince Hall building here on Auburn Avenue. The interesting thing about WERD radio was that it was the first black and black-owned radio station in the country. When Grand Master Dobbs had a vision of this building, it was for Masonic purposes and probably a little political purposes as well. But it then became a business purpose. And so you would see WERD being the first black radio station in the country, but also now in a black building. And so for us, by us, and they're renting space with us. And so you had total control over the radio format.
For close to a century, the St. James Lodge has been a staple in the Atlanta community. This Prince Hall Masonic Temple is so vital in the telling of the story of Atlanta that it cannot afford to be lost.